Hello, this is the Elite Gamer here with my first movie review, which will be Daredevil, based upon the Marvel comic strip. Basically, this movie is based upon not just a Marvel comic book, but it's also based upon something else. It's based upon an individual, a young boy to begin with, who ends up losing his father, who ends up being murdered because he wouldn't throw a fight because his father's a boxer. Well before his father's killed, he ends up being blinded in a freak accident, which ends up increasing empowering his senses in ways most people could only dream of. So let's just cut to the review of this movie, which is Daredevil. First off, I must say I really appreciate another thing about the opening and how diverse it is, especially in the opening in the opening itself they actually concoct all the actual actors and actresses' names into Braille, which I thought was pretty unique, especially when Daredevil, it has to be said, was one of the first, and to my knowledge, ever superheroes by Stan the Man Lee, who ever had a disability. Yep, I'm not even kidding, I'm absolutely serious. Daredevil, real name Matt Murdock, was the only superhero in the Marvel category to ever have a disability. Cut to the good bits. So basically, all it is, Daredevil's more than a hero. He's by morning he's not just any man. He's a man of justice. By day, he's not just any man at all. He's an ordinary man, so he tries to make us believe. But as I said, by day he's more than a man. He's an attorney of law for the court. But by night, Matt Murdock, attorney of law, goes by another name. A name that the criminals come to know and fear, even today. Daredevil, guardian devil of Hell's Kitchen. Now basically, the plot of the movie follows very similar to the comic book. So let's talk about the actual plot of the movie and how it's set up. Basically, the plot's quite simple. Attorney Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, uses all these radar-induced senses to fight crime. Initially ends up squaring off with his comic book nemesis Bullseye and Kingpin. Now, I've got nothing against the guy who plays the Kingpin in this. I think he did a damn good job, but then, you know, now if most of you are like fans of Daredevil or Spider-Man, have actually you know, watched Marvel programs when the Kingpin of crime, real name Wilson Fisk, makes a lot of appearances. If if you're a die-hard fan of any Division or animated series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that or if you've seen this movie before, when I say that this guy who did Kingpin, I think he did a damn good job, but you know, let's just say it's not the sort of Kingpin that you'd expect, and if you've seen this film, you'll know exactly what I mean. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, the main division of the plot is that Matt wants to get revenge on the main man who is responsible for his father's death. Another interesting thing I think would be to talk about would be Daredevil's powers. Now, yes, as I said, he's a blind superhero, but just because he's blind doesn't mean that he can't see. Well, it's hard to explain, but in layman's terms, this is how he's able to fight or see. But in the real world today, we all hear noises, you know, sound effects of everyday life, such as, I don't know, a train going by, a car stopping or driving off a parking. Everyday noises. And it's these everyday noises which give him the greatest power of all else. The sonic vibrations of all these noises initiate a radar sense, giving him the ability to see, as if he wasn't blind at all. Oh, justice has been done here. But initially, well before this became a movie, when this was just going to become a comic book, Stan Lee, it has to be said, brilliant guy who was responsible for Spider-Man and so many other Marvel greats to don the Marvel comics movies later on down the line. It has to be said that Stan the Man Lee, he didn't just bring us so much, but he was very worried when he made Daredevil, because he was scared, or probably a little worried, but because he'd made a blind superhero, or the first superhero with a disability, the general public would be against him or wouldn't like him. Anyway, a couple of days later, or whenever, weeks, however long it took, Stan ended up getting a letter back saying that from like blind people who had read to him in Braille or whatever, and said that they really loved the character, and that this character alone had actually made them more confident about how the wind had turned, or the fact that they were blind. So it's nice that a comic book character had actually given these people so much confidence, because I never take anything I have for granted, whether it's my mobility or my sight or even my hearing. And in all fairness, I'd probably feel very little confidence without any of them. So, Stan, you really made us proud when you made this character. Now, again, as we said, now Daredevil's not everyone's favourite, but then, you know, it's something you can overlook with a character, whether it's a good thing or a day or a bad day, he never stops trying. And for a hero who for a disability he never asked to have, who you know, just makes the best of what's come his way, and he never stops trying. So my final thoughts on Daredevil the movie, I'll give it I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10 because I'm not being funny now. As I said, you know, this comic book character movie inspired. I gave this a 9 mainly because Stan didn't just make Daredevil and every other obsolete character from Marvel Comics. He even went the distance so much that he actually inspired the blind to be more confident than they'd ever been before. So that's my final thoughts on Daredevil. This is the Elite Gamer saying thanks for watching. Until my next movie review in addition to video games, goodbye.